Good morning. I'm Hassan Giordano, and this is your DMV Daily Dose for Wednesday, November 20th, 2019.
It's currently cloudy and 44 degrees in Baltimore. Expect mostly clear skies starting in the morning. Today's high will be 51 degrees, and the low will be 42.
A New York appeals court ruled Tuesday that the Orioles have the right to take a dispute related to TV money with the Washington Nationals to arbitration, lifting a stay in the case to set the stage for a potential arbitration hearing. 4 judges from New York Supreme Court Appellate Division ruled unanimously that the Orioles are allowed to ask the American Arbitration Association to rule on whether Mid-Atlantic Sports Network, otherwise known as MASN, which broadcasts games for both teams but is supermajority owned by the Baltimore Orioles, is required to pay a profit dividend payment to that of the network withheld from both teams in 2018. My main man LeBron James made history last night against the Thunder, and the only NBA team that he has not had a triple-double against until last night, when he dropped 24 points, grabbed 11 boards, and had 10 assists, making him the only NBA player in history to ever have a triple-double against all 30 teams. And the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is now the betting favorite to become this year's NFL MVP Player of the Year, leading the Seattle Seahawks' quarterback Russell Wilson in what looks like a two-man race at this point. The Baltimore Sun is reporting that less than a week after the city passed the 300 homicide mark for the year, the fifth straight to do so, Baltimore City Council members pushed forward legislation to create a violence reduction plan that involves not just the police department, but also a broad array of city agencies. But as the Public Safety Committee passed amendments Monday to move the onus away from Mayor Bernard C. Jack Young's office over to the city's health department to create the plan, some city officials say that he rushed the process and left out heads of key city agencies. During the contentious hearing on the bill, mayoral candidates debated about their devotion to ending the ongoing violence in Baltimore City. City Council President Brandon Scott, with the near unanimous support of his council colleagues, originally pushed legislation that would have required the mayor's office on criminal justice, which advises the mayor on crime reduction, to publish a comprehensive crime plan every 2 years that brings together the school system, the housing authority, the health department, and other agencies to tackle the root causes of Baltimore's pervasive violence. The legislation also required the plan to include an analysis of criminal justice data, an assessment of holistic crime reduction efforts beyond policing, and the establishment of goals for stemming violence here in the city of Baltimore. However, Hillary Ruley, chief solicitor in the city's law department, wrote in the letter to the council that the bill would have to be amended to comply with the city charter. Quote, "There can be no ordinance that directs the operation of the mayor's office," Ruley wrote. She also said that neither the mayor nor the city council can require a crime plan to be followed by the police commissioner, since the Baltimore City Police Department is under state control. Speaking of the Baltimore Police Department, The Sun is also reporting that the Baltimore police swept up 19 men, the majority of which in the Brooklyn neighborhood, during a 2-week-long prostitution sting operation that the commissioner spoke about on Tuesday. Quote, "This is based on complaints from our residents who live here in the city. They complain about this regularly at every meeting that I attend. And this is us telling you, the residents, that we heard you," said Police Commissioner Michael Harrison at an afternoon news conference. The suspects ranged in age from 26 to 78, and the charges are all misdemeanors. The operation began on November 3rd and ended on November 16th, with 14 of the 19 suspects being nabbed in Brooklyn. 3 men were arrested in the Garrison neighborhood in northwest Baltimore, and 2 others were caught in O'Donnell Heights in southeast Baltimore, police said. All media outlets are reporting on the entrance of the newest Baltimore City mayoral candidate, first-term state senator Mary Washington from the city's 43rd legislative district, who is set to make her official announcement later today while touring the city on various stops from Lexington Market at noon for lunch to Waverly later in the afternoon for her official kickoff. Speaking with the Sun's Luke Broadwater, Washington said that Baltimore is not a poor city. We've just been poorly run. The 57-year-old state senator said in an interview with The Sun that our city is broken. There's a real lack of appreciation that Baltimore needs to get back to the basics: integrity, accountability, and spending money properly. Known as one of the most progressive legislators in the Maryland State Senate, Washington, an Ednor Gardens resident and former Baltimore Housing City Stat Director, said that she will propose big ideas to move Baltimore forward, but also said that Baltimore leaders need to get the small things right, such as ensuring that the city delivers accurate water bills. Senator Washington enters a Democratic field that includes Baltimore Mayor Bernard C. Jack Young, City Council President Brandon Scott, who will be on the DMV Daily Show this Monday at 6 p.m. On Monday, November 25th, talking about this race, Deputy Attorney General Thiru Vignarajah, former Baltimore Police Department spokesman T.J. Smith, and businessman Ricky Vaughn, who has begun buying billboards all across the city. And while Washington becomes the only female candidate to enter the mayoral race today, she could be joined by one or two other women soon enough, including Democrats still considering whether to run, such as former Mayor Sheila Dixon and T. Rowe Price exec Mary Miller, who told The Sun this week that she is contemplating a run. Miller is a former acting Deputy Secretary of the Treasury in the administration of President Barack Obama, while Dixon is the former Baltimore City Mayor who is credited for efficiently running local government and the only mayor in the past 30 years to have drastically reduced crime to all-time lows. And speaking of Baltimore City mayoral elections and former mayors, the Baltimore Sun's Luke Broadwater and Kevin Rector released this morning breaking news that the former mayor for Baltimore City, Catherine Pugh, has been charged with 11 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and more in her Healthy Holly book scandal. According to The Sun, federal prosecutors have charged the former Baltimore mayor with 11 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy in what they allege was a corrupt scheme involving her sales of a self-published children's book series. In a grand jury indictment made public on Wednesday, this morning, prosecutors allege Pugh defrauded area businesses and nonprofit organizations with nearly $800,000 in sales of her Healthy Holly books to unlawfully enrich herself, promote her political career, and illegally fund her campaign for mayor in 2016. Though her customers ordered more than 100,000 copies of the books, the indictment says that Pugh failed to print thousands of copies, double sold others, and took some to use for self-promotion. Pugh, 69 years old, used the profits to buy a house, pay down debt, and make illegal straw donations to her campaign, prosecutors allege. At the same time, prosecutors said she was evading taxes. In 2016, for instance, when she was a state senator running for mayor, she told the IRS that she had made just $31,000 for the year, when in fact her income was more than $322,000 that year, meaning that she shorted the federal government of about $100,000 in taxes alone, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The charges Pugh faces carries potential sentences totaling 175 years in prison. Prosecutors are seeking to seize $769,688 of her profits, along with her current home in Ashburton, which they allege she bought and renovated with fraudulently obtained funds. The former Democratic mayor is expected to appear Thursday in U.S. District Court in downtown Baltimore. Now, two of Pugh's associates, longtime aide Gary Brown Jr. and Rosalind Weddington, the director of a nonprofit that Pugh championed, have also agreed to plead guilty in this investigation, according to just unsealed agreements. Now, Brown, if you remember, 38 years old and an aide to Pugh as a state senator and as mayor, pleaded guilty earlier this month to 4 counts, one for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, one for filing a false tax return, and 2 for conspiring to defraud the United States. Of the latter two charges, one is related to his work with the former mayor, Catherine Pugh, while the other is related to his work with Weddington, the director of the nonprofit training center for which Pugh served as the board chairwoman. Now remember, in 2017, Brown was also found guilty of violating state election laws for funneling cash to Pugh's campaign through his relatives. This prevented him from taking a seat that he was appointed to in the Maryland State House of Delegates. Now, Pugh kept Brown working for her at City Hall even after the conviction, and he apparently still works in the mayor's office under Bernard C. Jack Young. His home was among those that the FBI raided earlier this spring. Now, Weddington, 50 years old, pleaded guilty in September to 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States and 5 counts of filing false tax returns. According to her plea deal, she knowingly filed false tax returns each year from 2013 to 2017 with Brown's help. More to come on this story, I'm sure. I'm your man, Mr. Politics, and this has been your Daily Dose for Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. For more information on the articles that I've mentioned, just go on over to our website at www.dmvdailynews.